What's going on, everybody? I'm here. I'm uh I'm trying to catch a little bit of time in between here. That's why I promised this live stream, and I was bound determined that I'm going to get this in here today. I've had a lot of people talk to me wanting to ask some questions about concealed carry and self defense. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And did you guys catch like the in the the section underneath the video where it said if you're triggered easy, no pun intended, the trigger thing, right? So let's see who we got in the chat real fast. Iron Otter will be with us in just a minute. He just hasn't actually come on. So let's see who we got. Hey Stars, how are you? Sovereign, Abby, Susie, how's everybody doing? Is it like miserable hot everywhere, by the way? Because it's like really hot. Cheeky Monkey, what's going on? Mr. For Twitch, how are you? It's like miserable hot here, and I like tried to get outside and do some stuff, and I worked the bag in the garage, and oh my gosh, guys, like you could see probably in the video if you haven't seen it, but in the video, wow, I was like pouring sweat. So it's that time of year, right? So we got to kind of expect that. So yeah, it's hot, Sovereign. Hotter than hinges on the gates of hell. Yeah, it's pretty warm there, ain't it? So hey Anthony, what's up, buddy? Johnny, what's going on? Hope everybody's doing well on a Sunday. This is kind of different for me, right? Doing an afternoon stream on a Sunday. What's up with that? But hey, we'll try it, right? Let's see. Yeah, is it raining in the UK? So, but like, you know what my thing is, like, I don't really mind the heat. Like, well, let me say this. I don't mind the heat as much as I hate the cold. Like, I don't know why I'm like that, but like, I'm telling you, in the wintertime, oh, I'm a big baby. Like, I'm like that kid on the Christmas Story. You remember how the mom like bundled them all up and they're like barely be able to walk? That's me. So, but either way, you know, I guess we could find a reason to complain about something at any given time. So, now let me explain a little bit about, first of all, before we go into this, and I want to explain to you guys kind of why I'm doing this. When I very first started this channel, I started this channel with the intentions on being more Second Amendment type pro 2A gun related. And I've said this before, but that all kind of changed when, after the whole Chile thing and, we started doing the whole prepping for the fight and stuff. And then I just kind of use it to document and to keep myself held accountable with my training. So that's kind of where all that started from. And it's kind of turned into that more than it turned into what I originally had in mind. But it seems like there's been a lot of people on different platforms here and Facebook and everything else that people ask me, be like, hey, you think you could do a video where you talk about, some self-defense type stuff? So that's what we're here for. Now, first thing I do want to say, I'm going to give a disclaimer because I want everybody to understand. First of all, I'm not giving you advice. I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to give you any advice on how you're supposed to handle anything. I'm simply telling you some things that I have confidence in. Use at your own discretion. That's up to you. If you want to use anything, whatever, if you want to prepare yourself the way that I've kind of prepared myself, the way I keep in mind, that's up to you. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of share some of the stuff that I've learned being, an avid Pro 2A guy and a carrier for years, as well as a police officer. So I'm kind of Blue Bear. What's up? I'm kind of giving my personal experience, as well as I am a defensive tactics instructor and a firearms instructor through a couple different places in the tri-state area here. I teach for Edwards Training Center, is probably the one that I teach the most, and that's in the Huntington, West Virginia area. So that's the most recent one that I've actually been involved with. The COVID thing threw everything off, man. I was doing classes like, gosh, probably sometimes 2 or 3 times a month. And when COVID hit, oh my gosh, like it just completely, and it's like it never did kind of recover, Like we went from saying, oh, we'll schedule another class, do this or whatever. And it just kind of all backed off a little bit. So, and then everybody gets kind of caught up in their own life or whatever, and things are going on. So, but we're going to get back on that too. Today is not about specifically about a class. This is not a class. This is some discussions. A lot of people that might be interested in concealed carry, or even just open carry, however we're going to go that route. But anybody that's interested in personal defense from, a Pro 2A type platform, this is going to kind of give you a couple things to think about. We're going to talk a little bit about probably the different involvements that you need to take and kind of self-evaluation of some things. It's a very, very, very important thing, and it needs to have a lot of thought put behind it before you pledge to go out and start carrying a firearm. It's your right, and I'm all about it, and I'm Pro 2A as can be, but I also want you to use your head and to be logical, because whether you have the right to or not, if you don't feel yourself comfortable, it's not safe for you or anybody else. So, Terry,
As with all of your rights, you should always exercise every right with responsibility and common sense if you have any, and if you don't, get some, please.
absolutely. And that's the thing too, is, like I've said, you guys have heard me say it many times, just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should. So we're going to talk a little bit today to figure out if you want to take the evaluation of yourself and see if you should. So real fast, I just want to ask, we got looks like almost 40 in the chat. How many of you guys carry more than once a week right now before we even get started? How many are avid firearm Pro 2A people that actually carry on a regular basis? Put a 1 in the chat if you carry more than once a week. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people say, oh, I do. Well, ever so often. So I want to hear if you really are an avid carrier all the time.
I carry open Leaducated. I carry every day, everywhere I go.
Absolutely. The reason that I'm saying that is there is a lot of people that they carry because they already have the experience of it, or they're trained or whatever. And there's some people that carry because, well, they feel safe, but sometimes it could be potentially misleading. Their safety is misleading. They're kind of fooling themselves. So we're going to talk about that
too.
too.
Only as safe as their safety training with whatever they're carrying.
Sure. And a lot of people put a lot of false hope into what the potential is of a firearm. And we're going to talk about that too, because a lot of people watch too many movies and watch Hollywood tell you of what a firearm can do, or a lot of the crazy, the left side that wants to take guns and such. And they kind of say, oh, well, it'll blow a hole. No, we're going to talk about all that. So that's absolute nonsense. So, first of all, let me start by saying, as you guys probably know, most of you guys are familiar with me, or you probably wouldn't be here. So, I am a 15-year police officer. I'm a road captain with the City of Ironton, Ohio Police. I am an avid Second Amendment, and that's just before I say that, I am very, very Pro 2A, but I'm also very, very reasonable too in my thought process. And we'll get into that too, about the way that I do things, because I'm still very respectful of other freedoms and everybody else too. So, and that to me means a lot. So, now all that being said, I want you to remember that a lot of the things that I've gathered has been for my own training that I've went out and seeked myself, and in the private sector. And then there's a lot of training that I've picked up through, the Ohio Police Officer Training Academy. And then there's some that I've picked up through some other institutions that I've been involved in with my SRT type tactical training and stuff. And I have picked up a lot of stuff just doing research myself, and kind of trial and error type thing. Because I used to shoot a lot. But the prices of ammunition's kind of made that a little bit difficult now, so I don't as much. So, and I also want to make sure too that I clarify some of this stuff that we'll talk about, especially some of the preparedness and the awareness type stuff. will apply even without a firearm. This is just basic good concepts of self-defense and self-awareness to understand what's going on around you. Okay. So we're going to go into all that stuff too. So I'm just giving a few seconds here to let everybody kind of wind in and stuff before we get started, so we can kind of get everything going. So in the meantime, Terry, how you been, buddy?
Oh, buddy, I'm good. I just hit a deer on the way home last night. So luckily, I have two of the same type of car, and I've had to switch out some coils and a headlight and a few things here to get one of them going. But I'm back on the road now.
Oh, that's a good thing. It sucks you actually had to tear up your car.
Well, it happens. That deer probably got tore up a lot worse than I did. She was going toward the left-hand side of the road, and just as I come around the curve, she darted back right in front of me, and all that hit the car was the side of her head. So if she survived, she has a terrible headache.
Oh wow, yeah, that's brutal. Yeah,
If I'd have had a pickup truck, I'd have stopped and brought her home.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, throw them back straps in the freeze. But yeah, I would never be that lucky either. Like if I hit one, the dang thing would run off and I'd never have it, but my truck would be all tore up. So
I just seen an interesting comment by Sovereign Soul Unchained Mind there. He's right. A dry fire system does work good for practice. If you have access to something like that and you can use it, that is a great way to practice.
We will talk about all that too. That's on my list. We'll talk about trigger manipulation, and we'll talk about dry fire drills. So, and once again, I'm not going to go into instruction, guys. Okay, I'm just talking about topics. But this is stuff I'm hoping to spark your interests so that you go out and you do your own research, seek your own training. If you're in our area, if you're interested in training with me or Edwards Training Center, feel free to contact us. Whatever, you can look up Edwards Training Center on Facebook. And we can get you scheduled in for some classes. If you're not around here, there's plenty of wonderful institutions that teach great gun defense and such. So that being said, we'll go ahead and get going on some of this stuff. And the first thing that I want to remember, and I want you guys to remember, is preparedness. And when I say preparedness, I want you guys to keep in mind that preparedness isn't just about what you have with you for that day. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about preparedness as in your mind and body. I'm talking about preparedness as in being prepared and knowing your responsibilities, understanding what you are and aren't going to do, but specifically understand what your limitations are, as in, and I'm not talking about legal wise. I'm saying a lot of people go out and they say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then they realize, oh, wow. Or they get a little bit too big of an ego because they're carrying a firearm and they realize that that's not good either. So mental preparedness is a big part of it. To make sure that you have not only, and I'll give you a little bit of literature that you can check out. If you guys have ever heard of Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, he's an author, ex-military man, and he does a lot of stuff. Really, it's all about concealed carry type stuff for the most part. But he talks about a bulletproof mind, and he talks about mentally preparing yourself to be prepared to do certain things. God forbid you have to be in that situation. So that's something that you need to study up on first before you do anything else. You need to kind of take note of what your own feelings are, what your own abilities are to begin with before you even start your training. And then you kind of run it through the filter of once again, we'll use that word, reasonableness. So is my actions, the way that I feel about this, reasonable? Is it silly to think that I'm doing this? Like, is it silly? Like, is it dangerous? Am I going to be negligent type thing? So think about all that stuff. And then think about what it's going to be like. And I'm being serious. Hollywood has painted a picture of the way things are. But you need to prepare yourself for what it's like. God forbid you ever had to actually hurt somebody. And that's something
you sure won't feel like Sylvester Stallone when it's over. That's a bunch of baloney. That's not how it's going to go down.
Absolutely. And I see that a lot of times too. And Hollywood paints these pictures of like even these police officers, and they shoot somebody and then they just go back to work and finish the day. Well, let me tell you something. That's not how it happens. Okay. In the event of an officer involved shooting, that officer is going to be off for a while. He's going to be off work for a while. His gun's going to be taken by the PD 90% of the time. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak obviously for every agency, but I can tell you that's the way it would happen with us. And he's going to face grand jury. He's going to be determined by a jury of his peers if he was acting within reasonableness, if he acted within the letter of the law. So think about all that stuff. Are you able to do that? Are you comfortable knowing? And then to think about what it's like for the rest of your life to be able to lay your head down and know that you potentially took somebody's life or changed their life, certainly. So a lot of mental preparedness has to be placed in as a factor. Okay. Now the second thing that I talk about in my classes that a lot of guys don't is the physical preparedness of it. And we'll get into the reality of what these guns can really do here in a little bit. But to think that a gunfight is always just like it is on TV, where you just draw up and bang, and that's the end of it, it's not very, very realistic. As a matter of fact, there's probably going to be a lot of times where, you're going to still be in a physical scuffle with somebody too, in the event that you're actually involved in a shooting or, physical type altercation. So your body needs to be prepared too. If you're able to get out and move around and start improving your health and start being physically capable. Furthermore, you need to be able to make sure that the weapon itself that you have, whether it be a firearm or whether it be a less than lethal, whatever it may be, is something that you're physically capable of using efficiently. You have to be making sure that if you're not comfortable with what you have, it's not going to do you any good anyway. So make sure that no matter what it is, whether it's pepper spray or some type of electronic control device, or whether it's some type of a firearm or whatever it may be, there's all kinds of stuff out there now, I guess. Make sure that you're efficient with it, that you've taken your time, you've trained with it, you're comfortable with it, your body can actually control this device, whatever it may be, so that all that's out the window. It's no more of a factor. Because if you don't do that, you're going to run into a lot of trouble. God forbid the time ever comes where you actually face an issue. So that's something big to think about.
Hey, Captain, I have a
Yes.
question for you. I always carry my Glock, but unknown to most, I usually have pepper spray on me as well. And that's so that, I think that everyone who carries should have a less than lethal, way of controlling someone, because you may not always have to go lethal.
Sure. We're going to talk about that too as we go through the equipment and stuff, and we'll go through some stuff of what I consider an absolute must for day-to-day carry, because we're going to talk about everyday carry, and I mean that as in what I do. Once again, I'm not telling you guys what to do. I'm saying what I do, what I feel is a necessity. Okay. So, and we're going to get into all that stuff, and we're going to go through some really cool stuff and some ideas. As a matter of fact, we're going to go to equipment right now. So remember, rule number one is preparedness, mind and body. Prepare yourself mentally, thinking that what could potentially happen should you have to be involved in some type of situation like that. Furthermore, to know that your mind and your body is prepared for that, not only prepared for it, but prepared with the equipment in which you choose. So preparedness is a big deal. Get yourself mentally ready. Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, look him up when we get off here, and I want you guys to check out some of his stuff, because he's a heck of an author, and he's really, really very educated in actual those type of high stress situations, and it's worth the psychology behind it. So it's absolutely worth a check. Okay, number two is equipment. This is something that a lot of people will agree on, but there's a lot of different views on what everybody thinks is a must. And I'll tell you why. You've got these guys that are what I call tactical. They're more interested in looking the part than they are actually being actually efficient, and because of that, they probably carry way too much stuff, and they probably do a lot of silly stuff or whatever. And that's fine if you want to do that. But this is for the regular, everyday person that just wants to feel safe by being able to go out to the grocery store at night. Okay. So, and that's kind of what I'm referring to all this about. So for the equipment, let me just give you a quick idea of some of the stuff that I would consider a must. Okay. First and foremost, I don't leave home without a firearm. Okay. I'm going to have a gun at all the time. If I can absolutely am able to, I'm going to have a gun, unless it is restricted by the place that I'm entering. Okay. Well, Captain Chad, it's your Second Amendment right Yeah, it's my Second Amendment right to be able to carry these firearms in most public places. There are restrictions. Guess what, guys? There's restrictions on me in my official capacity. I can be in uniform and go into certain government buildings. I got to take my gun off. It doesn't matter what what your rights are. It still has to be reasonable. You have to mind the laws that are actually there too. If you're not mindful of the laws that are in place, then you're probably not a real good concealed carrier anyway, because you're already disrespecting the entire reason and the institution of what we're actually carrying these for, to be the good guys, right? So let's keep that in mind. So when I go into a government building, no, I'm not going to carry a firearm. It's not going to happen. So, but a firearm. Number one, I always have a gun with me. Always, absolutely. Number two, you need some type of communication. I know in today's world, we all have cell phones, but this is still part of the original kind of curriculum that we talked about a while back. So make sure you have some type of communication. Keep your cell phone with you, because obviously if you have the opportunity to be able to call for somebody for help, or in that type of situation, you need to do so. Okay. That's part of the absolute must. Firearm and some type of communication, cell phone. Okay. Number three is some type of light. A lot of these guys now are carrying the little concealed carry handguns that's actually got lights on them. They make these tiny little weapon lights now. But here's what I like to say is, just because you need a light doesn't mean you need a gun. So I like to carry a light just in my pocket, like a little tiny pocket light, simply because there's times that I may need a light for something that I don't need a firearm, and I sure don't want to pull my pistol out and start pointing at people and things and stuff for a flashlight, right? So a flashlight is a big must to me. Always keep a flashlight. Always keep some type of knife or some type of edged weapon, okay? Simply because if you always have a weapon with you, first of all, or a knife with you, you have a secondary weapon. That's potentially lethal weapon. And you have an extra tool with you that could potentially help you in a lot of different situations. Okay, so always, always, always gun, phone, light, knife right off the bat. To understand that anything less than that, you probably aren't really going to be prepared enough. There are a lot of people that will say, oh, well, you need to make sure that you keep, a tourniquet with you, stuff like that. If you feel so inclined to carry a tourniquet or a quick clot or something along those lines, by all means. But for the regular everyday person, I don't see the purpose in that. We're talking about, the mom that's going to the grocery store type thing and just feel kind of comfortable with certain things. So make sure that you keep all of that within a reasonable manner. So gun, phone, light, knife right off the bat. If you're not if you don't want to be carrying a firearm, then by all means, you need to make sure that you have some type of less than lethal pepper spray, some type of, stun gun. Taser actually makes civilian models now. Those are all, decent options. In my opinion, there's no replacement for a firearm. Absolutely none. I think everybody needs to be carrying a firearm. Now, above and beyond what I just said, the next thing I would recommend, make sure you carry extra ammo. Most of these handguns are relatively high capacity now. Even these tiny little guns are like 14, 15 rounds of 9mm now. So that's pretty decent. But if you have a way to be able to carry a spare magazine, carry a spare magazine. You're never going to be sorry. That's the thing, is the old saying says, I would rather have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So go ahead and carry that extra spare. It's never going to be something that's worth not having, right? So also based on equipment, and this is where we're going to get into understanding the realistic expectations. I want you guys to understand, first and foremost, I want you to understand that once this all goes back to preparedness too, and the mental aspects and the preparedness involved. But to understand realistic expectation, you have to remember this. Hollywood paints a crazy picture to us guys. A crazy picture of unrealistic nonsense. Okay. So don't expect that whatsoever. The truth is, I'm a 260-pound guy. Okay. I want you guys to think basic, just basic science, basic physics. My ammunition that I carry in my 9mm is 135 grain projectile. I'm 260 pounds. To think that bullet is going to knock me down like Hollywood makes you think isn't true. Okay. That's not going to happen. And most cases, one shot is not anywhere near enough. Generally speaking, every time you shoot, you should shoot twice. Now, this is not instruction. This is just something to consider when you think about this stuff. Seek your own instruction and actually go through an instructor and go to classes and stuff. I'm just talking to you generally about what kind of expectations that you can expect. A 9mm bullet is a tiny little bullet. So you want to shoot at least twice. And honestly, you're going to shoot twice every time. So the chances are in the event you actually shoot somebody, God forbid, you're probably going to shoot them 6 to 8 times. You know, that's just being real, and maybe more than that, depending on what they're actually on. There's a lot of really, really nasty drugs out there that allow them to go a lot longer.
Hey, Captain, I think there's a comment in the chat by Scott Hubert. He was saying that the first time he ever disagreed, you said everyone should carry a firearm. He said he has friends that he's tried to train, but truly believe they would kill themselves before they got a good shot off. And I want to reiterate, Scott, that Leaducated and I both, when we say everybody, we mean everybody who can responsibly do it, who is physically and mentally able to do it. Anyone who obviously does not qualify should never touch a firearm, let alone carry one.
Absolutely. And just for the record, I don't know if Scott, if you came in a little late, but when I very first opened up in preparedness, that was the first thing I said. So do self-evaluation and determine if you really are capable of handling this and you're able to actually do that. So it's not about the fact that I think that everybody should have a gun. It's about the fact that I think everybody that's actually done that evaluation, prepared themselves for it, they feel safe and comfortable with it. I think all of those people should have a gun. So, and that's just my opinion. So now back on what I was saying, I want you guys to remember that a 9mm or a 45 or whatever, it don't work like that, guys. There is no set. Here we go. Oh, I'm getting ready to stop. I'm getting ready to drop some hearts right here. There is no such thing as stopping power. It doesn't exist. Nothing. As short of a 50 BMG or some kind of huge, massive round, a 9mm, 40, 45, 357 Magnum, it does not exist. There is no such thing as stopping power. And those temporary wound cavities that they talk about, there's actually been multiple tests that absolutely show that unless you're shooting what would be classified as a high-powered rifle, which is something that's usually over 2,000 feet per second, it's irrelevant. So those temporary wound cavities are nonsense. You're punching holes in vital areas. And then when that vital area is punched, then very possible that when that happens and it takes effect, then you're going to see the effects of actually stopping somebody. But the whole thing about stopping power, all this gun's got stopping power. If it's a handgun, it don't. There was actually an interview that they'd done with several people that have been involved in shootings, and a lot of them are police officers. And they asked them about the effects of what it was like when they got shot. And a lot of them didn't even know they were shot until after it was over. You know,
hey, Leaducated, Sergeant Blue Bear there said he'll be covering a video about an officer-involved shooting that shows multiple shots may have to be discharged to stop the threat. So I think maybe that might be a good video for everybody to go tune into on Blue Bear's channel.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, is that's pretty consistent. If you actually watch very many videos of actual real life shootings, it's pretty consistent that it takes several rounds with the handgun to actually neutralize the aggression.
Well, we just seen the kid that fired he shot 10 times and put 8 on target at something like 40 yards. Not only was that like a super perfect way to get it done, but notice how many he had to fire to stop the threat.
Sure. Absolutely. And obviously his marksmanship's on par. That's pretty good shooting at that
I would agree 100%. That's one hell of a shot right there.
Yeah, with a handgun, that's pretty good shooting. So
I'd like to shake this kid's hand, to be honest, because he, is a feller after my own heart there.
Yeah, he done a good job. He was definitely a patriot in that situation, I believe. So that being said, I want everybody to realize that a lot of times I've actually spoken. I'm not going to drop names, but I've actually spoke with some of my friends and people that I know that have been involved in shootings. And when I kind of questioned them after it was all said and done and everything, and I got the opportunity to kind of talk to them, and I asked them, what kind of effects. And I've actually heard, and once again, I'm leaving names out, but I heard this person say, I didn't even know I was hitting him, except I could see his shirt shake. His shirt was jumping. And, he's like, he had no effect. Like the way that he was acting, it didn't slow him down at all. And that's just the reality of it. So remember, when you're shooting some, in a defensive nature, you have to remember that the chances are it's not going to have the effect you want it to. It's not like TV where they're going to double over and, oh, you got me, or blow back through a table or a wall. It's not going to happen. Chances are they're going to get hit and you're not even going to know it. So that's where the physical preparedness comes in. You may have to actually fight with somebody after you shoot them, because you got to think, how long does it take to bleed out if you're shot in the heart? A couple minutes, probably. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor by any means. I know y'all find it hard to believe, don't you? You probably thought I was Leaducated, Captain Goo, MD, and attorney at law.
For at least 20 years. For at least 20 years.
I got it all. So, but that being said, it's very, very tough. Okay. So you have to make sure that you definitely train and get your rounds on target. So it could take a while for them to actually neutralize the aggression. Okay.
And if they're on any particular drugs and not just plain driven, if they're on any particular, and I'm not a drug expert, but I do know there are drugs out there where they don't know they're dead yet. That's the problem. They are dead 100%. They just haven't fell over yet.
There was a video, and it was just maybe in the past year or so, and I don't know where I saw it, but I did see it. And this guy actually committed suicide, and he went in this place that had surveillance cameras. And if anybody's seen this in the chat, maybe you can lead us in the right direction. But he actually pulled a 357, as what it was described later on, and he put it up against his chest, and he fired it. And then he set the gun down on the counter. And if you count from the time that gun went off until he fell, it was like 48 seconds. Now, that's point blank with what society says is the number one man stopper, the 357 Magnum that we loved during the 80s, right? And it took like 40-some seconds.
40-some seconds gives a lot of time to do a lot of damage.
Absolutely. If anybody's ever done the tool drill and they understand what the 21-foot rule is with a knife and understanding what 1 second can do, that's a lot of time if somebody's armed with a knife or a gun to be able to hurt you back.
They can close a lot of space in that short time.
They certainly can. So all that being said, this is all part of the preparedness too, because you have to remember, if you have to take that into consideration. There was a book that was written years ago that said a 9mm won't save your life, or somewhere along those lines, or it takes more than 9. I don't remember. I'm sure I'm misquoting it, but it was along those lines where it was basically saying that quit counting solely on a firearm, because you're going to need much more than that. There's a lot more to it. Practice, practice, practice. The old saying, 2 in the chest, 1 in the head. That's great. If you can train that, the chances are of making a headshot at anything moving in a high stress situation, it's tough, man. It's tough. I mean, I'm an expert pistol marksman. I'm a master pistol marksman, and I'm absolutely that would be really, really tough. That would be really, really tough. I mean, on a moving target, it's tough, especially when you're really, really, really excited and nervous. Okay.
Well, not to mention when all your training's at a still target and you take time to close one eye and aim, and none of that stuff is likely to happen in a pistol fight somewhere on the street.
Absolutely. If you watch a lot of police officer involved shootings, you'll see that all that pretty isosceles triangle stuff goes out the window. The truth is, they're drawing a gun, they're pointing the direction of it, and they're going boom, boom, boom. Right? That's the truth. Because you're going to be point fire shooting, generally speaking. You're going to be pointing in the direction of a target that you want to neutralize, and you're going to fire at it. That's really what's going to happen, right? So understanding your equipment, understanding what its capabilities are, and having realistic expectations is a big part. Now we're going to move on to the third part, training. Why did I say training for third? Because if the other two don't apply, don't waste your time training. Leave the gun at the house. You don't need it taken out in public, especially. But if you can't guarantee that your mental preparedness is okay, your mind and body is prepared for this type of situation, then there's no need in buying equipment. And then if you get your equipment and you don't have the realistic expectations, then there's no sense in training. Because if you go out there and you think that you're Dirty Harry and this is a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, okay, well, it's not going to blow your head clean off, I promise. Okay, so, but all that said, if you don't understand that and you don't have that realistic expectation, training isn't going to help you. But if you've got those first two, the next big one. I used to say this all the time. I never judge an instructor by the amount of certificates on his wall. I always judge my instructor by the amount of brass at his feet. If you're not out there shooting and you're not out there putting the rounds on range and you're not training and you're not putting the effort in, I don't need you to tell me how to fight with a handgun. I want to see what you've done. Show me what you've accomplished. Show me your marksmanship. Show me your weapons handling skills. Show me your trigger manipulation. Show me your grip manipulation. Everything. I want to see it all. I want to see what you can do, and I want to see how you shoot, how you handle a firearm, how you clear malfunctions, so on and so forth. And then when that happens, now you may have earned my respect and say, teach me, right? So remember, no matter how much training you get, it's not enough. Keep going. You can never train too much. You guys, come on. This is me. It's Leaducated, right? Because I want somebody right now to quote, what do I always say at the end of my video? In the chat, somebody put it on there. I'm not going to say another word until somebody says it. I'm going to chill it. Do me turn my back? Because I'll turn my back. Don't make me turn my back. Who can say it? Who can quote me? There's 50 of us in here. There's got to be somebody that can quote this moron. Nobody?
You got to give them a second. It takes a second for it to come in.
Oh, I know. I was being silly. So remember, the reason I'm saying that is if we understand how valuable training is, train like you fight, you will fight like you train. That's right, Jackie. If you remember that every single time that we go to that range, if you're just punching paper, you're not really training, okay? You're practicing. There's a difference in practicing and training. Practicing is for skills with precision to marksmanship. Training is absolutely fighting with that handgun. There's a difference, a huge, huge difference, right? So if we remember that when we go out there, we will see absolutely 100% that will take effect, and you'll start applying those type of things when you do go to the range and you're just punching paper instead of just going out there and going bang, 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 bang. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to go ahead and give you guys this. Stop doing that stupid ass scan and assess shit after every round that you fire. It's not realistic. Who you looking for? The invisible man standing outside of you at the damn range? Stop that. You look like an idiot. When you do this stuff, bang, bang, and you go, what the hell are you looking for, man? Stop. I mean, you're looking like an idiot right now. First of all, even if you were looking for a threat, you ain't going to do it like that. Let's be real, right? So I just had to get on that soapbox for a minute, guys. That drives me crazy. I get it. Threat assessment, making sure that you're in the clear. But if you do it so mechanical like that, you're just training yourself to turn your head because you're not really looking. Nobody's looking like that. Stop, because all you're doing is training yourself to take your eyes off the target, that you've neutralized something, and what are you going to do? You're going to pull your gun back to high ready and go and shake your head no. Don't do that. Don't do that. And if an instructor is telling you to do that, ask him why and ask him what he sees over to the right immediately. What'd you see to the right? Guarantee it. Okay. So we're going to keep going on past that. Let's just say I had to get that out, guys. I had to get that out. It's a little bit of frustration. Okay. I got beat up last night. Okay. I had to get that out of me. So, The next thing that we're going to talk about is being practical and not tactical. So does anybody have any idea what I'm talking about when I say practical versus tactical? Terry, you got it. You want to chime in on that? What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's easy to be tactical. There's a lot of tactical stuff you can have. The question is it needed?
That's very, very realistic. Let me tell you this. Now, I want you guys to think about this. When you see these guys that are running around in 511 gear, and they've got all these Pro 2A shirts, and they've got those 511 pants and those hiking boots, and it's obvious that they're printing. That's a term in the concealed carry industry. They're printing their firearm, meaning that you can see their holster through their pants or something like that. Guess who's getting shot first in the event of a bad situation? You may as well draw a big damn target on your ass and say, shoot me first.
If you're going to go through all that, you might as well just open carry and get it over with.
Yeah, you may as well get shot first anyway, Terry.
Hey, buddy, I told you I'm willing to be the unsung hero. I expect all you concealed carriers to make them a pincushion, though, when I go down. So you know right where they're at. You know exactly what to do. I've agreed to be the guy to run across the field first. I don't mind to be shot at.
I'm just teasing you. But the reason I'm saying that is sometimes tactical isn't practical. Okay, when I go into a grocery store, and if you see me at the grocery store, you're probably not going to have any idea I got a firearm, unless I'm working, obviously. But if I'm just in there hanging out, you'd be like, he's not carrying a gun. He's got a pair of blue jeans on, T-shirt, Under Armour hat, whatever. You're not going to know I got a gun. Because guess what? I don't want anybody to know I got a gun. Because if they know I got a gun, now their sense of defense or potentially offense is directed towards me. And I don't want that. I want them to be distracted because I don't like fair gunfights. Believe it or not, in a gunfight, he who follows the rules friggin' loses. I mean, seriously, use your head, right? So always try to keep yourself practical, not tactical. So still look the same way you do. Carry gun the way that you could without changing anything. If you're changing everything and you're carrying a firearm and you've got 500 different things on there that says, I'm going to shoot you in the ass if something happens, you're going to be the one that's going to be shot in the ass. That's just the way it is. Oh, yeah, Scumdog, you're right. You got to have "We the People" tattooed right down your forearm or something. I'm just being, so you guys know I'm a huge freedom.
You know what the funniest part about that is, because I'm all about the United We Stand, and the little blue card that was given to me, on the back of it, it has I didn't put it there. It was the previous owner put it there, but it has a sticker that says, "We the people are pissed off."
Yeah, yeah. Well, what's really crazy is, like, you guys know, I'm super, super, super patriotic. I'm super freedom. So don't take me seriously when I say that. I'm all about whatever you got to do. If you want to rep some kind of freedom stuff, you'll get no gripe from me. I'm just saying, in a defensive situation, sometimes advertising that you're the guy to be afraid of is probably not the right thing to do. So just keep that in mind, okay? So always try to use your head, because if you're out there advertising, hey, I'm the one that's got the gun, I'm the one that's this, and you're probably going to get shot, okay? So concealed carry is a very, very safe way to do things, to be able to make sure that you can keep your gun hidden, and not have to ever need it, hopefully. But if you do, it's there. Nobody else knew it until you did, right? So just remember that. Now, always be smart. Always be smart. If you are going to open carry, and I'm going to tell you, and Terry knows that I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think you should. I don't. Terry's a huge open carry guy, and he and I have battled about this before. He's got his opinions, and I've got mine. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you're open carrying a firearm, you're running a greater risk of being disarmed than you are in a concealed carry situation.
Let me make this plain, Leaducated. I actually agree with you on that, but I support open carry. And
Absolutely.
I'm just hoping that is either a deterrent or it does make me the first target. And the only reason I'm willing to do that is because there are so many concealed carriers here. When you walk into a grocery store and you see me with mine, we're usually the only person that has one open, but everybody else there has got 2 or 3 on them. So I'm not usually so worried.
In this area, for sure, I can guarantee.
Right. Anywhere in the tri-state area, I'm not a bit worried about open carry, because if somebody shoots me, they're going to have more lead in them than I will. I guarantee it.
So the reason I say that is, in the event that, there's something could potentially go bad. If you are concealed carrying, then you've got a little less immediate probability of being shot early in the fight, God forbid. So remember that. If you're concealed carrying, that means your gun is hidden and you're the only one that knows you have it. That's the objective. That's the way that I teach. That's the way that I carry. It's the way I practice. It's just my opinion. I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just simply saying it's something to consider. It goes back to the preparedness stuff, guys. Think about all this stuff before. If this is part of what you consider as whether you want to open carry or whether you want to conceal carry, that's up to you. Okay. Check with your local laws, check with, state and local laws, whatever, and see which was, and in regards to all this, make sure, please, that you check all your local laws and your concealed carry laws and such. Now, I'm saying that stuff. I'm anticipating that everybody already knew that, but I probably should have clarified that. Always make sure that you're within the letter of the law, because once again, if we're not, then we're not being the good guys, right? So always follow the law. Okay. So, we know that we're going to carry practical and not tactical. And we know we're going to carry smart. We know we're going to train so that we're efficient with our weapons. And we know that we're going to have an understanding of our equipment, realistic expectations of our equipment. We understand that we're going to have a mental and physical mind and body preparedness for all of this prior to. So all of that is leading up to when you actually start carrying a gun. Now what? So now you are a carrier. You're absolutely you're carrying every day, whatever it may be. Now here's where the difference goes, and this is where we're going to get to the point where we start talking about something that might be above and beyond firearms. Okay, we're going to talk about situational awareness. When I teach situational awareness, I'll give you some of the examples that I use. When I teach it, I want you guys to remember there's so much more to just making sure that you're aware of your surroundings than just knowing, well, I know this street to go home and I know, this is here and whatever. That's awesome. Plan out what you're going to do, know what ways you're going to go, whatever. But I'm talking about the little things. Like, and I'll give you an example. And I know some of the guys in the chat are going to be able to recognize this. But when I go into a public restroom, and let's say I'm at Walmart, and I have to go into the public restroom, I will not use a urinal that doesn't have a high plumbing. If I can't use that plumbing as a reflection for a mirror to see what's behind me, it gives me the longest reaction time for somebody that could potentially come in behind me. So the farthest one you can get back with plumbing, the highest it can get, so you can use it as a mirror to see your back. Because the old saying, catch you with your pants down, that's exactly what that means, right? So if you're in a situation where you're using a public restroom, make sure that you think about all that stuff, right? So another thing, how many people leave the store, leave the mall, whatever, and they look in the back seat of their car before they get in it?
I do. I always look.
There's a lot of times that's a situation. That's a prime example of situational awareness. Knowing what's going on as soon as you get in that car, understanding what the potential is, and knowing where the possible threat could be. It's evaluation.
A lot of these newer vehicles, before you unlock the door, if you just grab the door handle and lift up on it, a lot of them are designed to turn the inside lights on. So that's what that's for. It's a safety thing before you actually get in your vehicle.
That's absolutely. So remember that. Those are just two little examples that I gave you guys, because there's a lot to it. Like for instance, when I go into like a restaurant, I try to go to where my back isn't to the door and my back isn't to a cash register. I don't like either one of those, simply because I don't want to be in a situation where, obviously, if there's any action going to happen in a robbery, it's probably going to be at the cash register, right? And I sure don't want to have my back to that guy. And I sure don't want to have my back to the door, because I want to see any potential threat that's going to be rising up. I like my back against the wall where I know nothing's coming up against me. That's the way I like it. So remember that. Remember. Always keep your eyes on wide open and your head on a swivel. Situational awareness is the number one thing to make sure that you are focused, that you are driven, that you are doing what you have to do to stay alive. Because if you're not aware of what's going on around you, you're not going to be in the right position to fight or defend yourself or your family anyway. So
And
always.
guys, you need to know what you look like, and by that I mean, if you guys have ever seen me standing next to the captain, he looks like the Incredible Hulk standing next to me. He's a very big guy compared to me. I'm only 5'4" and I weigh like 148, 150 pounds. So somebody like the captain could pick me up and throw me around like a rag doll if he got close enough to me. So understand what you look like to others is what I'm talking about. Me, I look like a tiny little old man, and people like the captain would probably think I'm easy to run up on and take care of. So that's the kind of thing he's talking about when he's talking about having your weapon taken from you, especially if it's open.
Absolutely. You have to understand what your limitations are and your capabilities. It's just remember, the more prepared that you are, then the better off you're going to be. And that means not only training with a firearm, but training your body too. Training your body, your mind, your awareness, focus. We could at any given time be in a bad situation.
And don't
And
feel bad. Don't feel bad if you are mentally, if you think you can't handle it, then don't carry. Do
sure,
not carry, and be okay with that.
that's the
There's no shame in it. None of us here are shaming you if you can't. It's not like that.
right. And honestly, that's why I opened up with a preparedness thing, because it's up to you to do that evaluation. I can't tell you that you should carry or you can't. You need to do that. You need to check within your own self and say, should I or shouldn't I? Because it makes me nervous, because I'm scared of guns, or I'm this or I'm that, or I don't have any, and if you're not willing to go any further, then right there, stop and consider other options. Okay. Okay. So now we've already covered the fact that we're prepared. And I want the chat to understand too. I'm not ignoring you guys. I'm going to get through this list of stuff, and then I'm going to. Terry and I will start answering questions and stuff. Okay, I'll try to get to all of them that we can. I just want to get through all this first because I might have the answers to some of your questions and what's getting ready to come up. So we're prepared. Our mind, our body's prepared. We have the right equipment. We have a gun. We have phone. We have light. We have knife. We have whatever it may be. Okay, we have an understanding of realistic expectations of what these weapons and or ourselves can do. We have now trained. We've been to the range. We've been to the gym. Our bodies, our skill is improved. We're absolutely ready to go, right? So we go out, we find a good concealed carry holster. We're carrying it very comfortably. We're carrying it without printing or showing anybody that we're carrying it. So we're carrying it smart and practical and not tactical. We have began practicing basic situational awareness. We're looking around. We're checking things. We're avoiding bad situations, so on and so forth. And we're putting all that together, right? Now, shit just hit the fan. And it really did just happen to us. And now, God forbid, we just got involved in some type of an altercation. Now, for the sake of this discussion, we're going to talk about it being a fight with a firearm, or we potentially shot somebody or used lethal force on somebody. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to call 911 or whatever emergency number it would be for your area. Okay. And you need to identify yourself to the dispatcher. You need to try and stay on the phone with the dispatcher if you possibly can while you're scanning and scoping and checking for safety and so on and so forth. You need to make sure that the dispatcher knows what you look like, what you're wearing, where exactly you are, and that you still have your firearm and you're awaiting the police to arrive. The subject is or moving or not. Give all the descriptives that you can. Don't give statements. Okay. Just tell them what they can expect when they get there, not what just happened. Don't talk about that. That's not up for you to talk about. We're going to get into that in a minute. And this is going to be something that you may not, you may not expect to hear from a police officer, but I'm going to tell you the reality. Okay. Call 911, all the descriptives that you have to identify the situation so that those guys know what they're getting into when they come on scene, because it's only fair. Okay. And remember that this is something that these police officers are going to be very, very nervous when they arrive. Their emotions are now rattling too, because they don't probably, if you just call and say, hey, I just shot somebody, I'm blah, 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 blah. then we're going to say you got to respond to a shooting. Okay. So that's something that makes us a little, I just was involved in a shooting. I need police here. I am wearing such and such and such and whatever, and give the descriptors of what you are, where you are, so on and so forth. That's the key. Okay. So when they get there, immediately show that you're surrendering the weapon, set it down, follow instructions, keep your hands in plain sight, because the chances are you might even be handcuffed based on totality of circumstances. I don't know. Okay. Cooperate, do what you got to do. And immediately, the first thing you say, officer, I mean no disrespect. I want to cooperate with any investigator first. Don't say anything else. Sir, no disrespect. I just think it's within my best interest to speak to my counsel first. I want to speak to my counsel first. No matter what, you're going to be real. You're going to want to say, I didn't mean to shoot him. Blah, 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 blah. And guess what? That's called spontaneous utterance, and that can be used against you. So I'm not saying that it necessarily is a negative thing, but calm down, take a breath, and before you speak to anyone else, speak to your attorney, and not your chili attorney, one that's a real attorney, one that
So you don't think
understands
we
the
should
real
call
law.
Chili for help?
I don't think I would. It'd be just my opinion. But that is absolutely, that's huge, guys. In the event that you had to actually shoot somebody, you better make sure that you talk to your attorney before you give any statements, even just utterance. Don't say anything. Cooperate with what they do. Surrender your firearm. Do what they tell you to do. And then just say, sir, I'm going to cooperate. I'm the good guy here. I'm going to cooperate. I need my attorney first before I can give a statement. Then I'll be happy to help you any way I can. Okay. And then that's generally what they'll say. So that's really where it leads to, guys, is realizing that there's a series of events that lead you to where things are going to go. Okay. The next thing is probably the hardest. It's the coping part. It's understanding that despite what you might think, it's not going to be easy. It's not an easy thing. It really is. PTSD is a real thing. And I can tell you that 100%, you're going to have some tough times with that. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Talk to people, get counseling, whatever you have to do, because you're going to need it. Coping with this. That mental preparedness that you had at the beginning should be already anticipating this for you. You should have already done this kind of self-evaluation to know that this time is coming. Okay. When that comes, now it's time to seek counsel, or now it's time to seek professional help, potentially. Okay. There's a lot of things that you can do to help yourself get over it. But by all means, don't be afraid to ask for help. Get out there, do the right things that you're supposed to do. Okay. Now, remember, everything that I've talked about, and the reason that I put it together the way that I have is not training. It's to understand what to do to be able to start down that road of training, to be able to start down what's going on. Situational awareness is the biggest thing. Understanding what's around you so that you can avoid a fight if you can. That's the ultimate goal. If you can stay out of being in an altercation, then do so. Nobody wants to fight.
Always, always, always leave rather than fight if it's possible.
Absolutely.
Always. Whether
Absolutely.
it's physical or gunplay or knife play makes no difference. If you don't have to fight, don't do it.
Absolutely. I just want you guys to remember, any fight we can avoid is a fight we won. Just remember that. So if we can avoid the fight, avoid it. In the event it's unavoidable, you do what you got to do. Okay.
Hey, Captain, I don't want to interrupt you, but you can get right back on topic. But Ginger LeBray wanted me to make sure that I let you know to go and look at Derek's post because she responded, and that pertains to you as well. So she wanted you to go to Bits and Pieces channel and check out his post. And apparently she commented to you as well. So when you get an opportunity, go check that out.
I will do that. So I want to go through just a couple of series of questions that that I want you guys to understand, and I want you guys to kind of think of if this is something that would be applying to you before you would ever be a concealed carrier. And then after that, we'll open it up for discussion. Okay. Question number one, am I comfortable around weapons? If you're not comfortable around weapons, then you need to probably get some advice from somebody that you trust that can walk you through it to see if it's even something that you're familiar with or could even become familiar with. And if it's not, there's an immediate eliminator right there. Okay. So remember, you have to think about the big picture, guys. And if this is something that's not going to be right for you, then just stay away from it. It's not going to benefit anybody. Question number two is, why would you choose to be a concealed carrier? And I'm using concealed carrier as an overall defensive mind carrier or firearm, whatever it may be. I'm talking about, that's just a loose term. Okay. So why am I choosing to carry a firearm? Okay. Do I have the mindset? Remember at the beginning when I was talking about preparedness, these are some of the questions that you need to relate in that preparedness. Do I have the right mindset? Obviously you might have a good reason. You might have a good firearm. You might even be really good trained, but why are you arming yourself? What's your real goal out of it? Because if it's not, and you do some real self-evaluation there, think about that. Do I see concealed carry as an insurance policy against the worst possible or possibilities? Because a lot of times we think about it being an insurance like it's going to be a fallback or whatever. And sometimes it can put you in the wrong mindset. So remember that. Are you prepared to put in all the extra effort? Are you prepared to go to the range, spend the time, spend the energy, do all the stuff that you're supposed to do as a concealed carrier to actually carry a gun? I'm telling you right now, it's a pain in the butt to carry a gun. I don't care how small they are. It's a pain in the butt to carry a gun on a day in, day out basis. So you need to remember that. Are you really prepared to put in all this work to do something like this? Because it's a lot of work and it's a big time, lifetime investment, because it'll change the way you do everything. And once again, the practice is huge. If you don't go to the range and you don't spend your time, you're not going to get efficient with it. You're not going to be safe for yourself or anybody else. Can you carry discreetly? I know Terry's an open guy. I'm not. If you're thinking about concealed carry, you need to be thinking, is it something that you can do quietly, discreetly? Because if it's not, you better consider it, and you better consider the firearm that you're getting too, because it might be too big for you or something else. Okay.
Hey, Leaducator, on that topic, one of the main reasons that I choose to carry open is more for educational purposes than anything else. You would be surprised how many conversations I have in the average week about carrying firearms, with a lot of people asking me simply because I do carry open. I'm easily approachable, so a lot of people approach and ask me about carrying. They ask me about permits. They ask me about whether or not they should carry. I've helped people get into the concealed carry classes and brought them the books. So for me, it's more about education. I'm not out there to show off. Obviously, I'm a tiny little guy, so it's not like it makes me look any better, but it definitely strikes up a conversation.
I can understand that. Yeah, I can understand that. So continuing with the questions, are you mentally prepared to be more careful than you are right now? Can you take on another level of responsibility to know that not only do you have to be careful with the firearm, knowing that it's that you're personally, but you also have to remember that now every single fight that you're ever potentially in is now a gunfight because you're bringing the gun.
Absolutely.
That is something that you have to remember. Just the simple little disagreement at the grocery store is now potentially lethal force situation, because should, God forbid, you guys get into some type of exchange and that gun falls loose, whose gun is it?
Well, and also know that if you're in a physical fight, that could be considered a felony if you have a weapon strapped to you. Whether you draw the weapon or not is irrelevant.
It could
According to Ohio state law, it could potentially be a felony. So know the laws and be very, very careful.
So remember, there's a lot more that you have to put into being careful. Okay. So make sure that you're careful. Will you practice restraint? If you're the type of guy, girl that gets hot-headed and you're going down the road and somebody pulls in front of you, anymore. If you're that type of
see all the drive-bys, for road rage.
exactly, if you're the type of person that loses your cool, you probably ought to really think about this. You have to be really level-headed because that's a lot of responsibility, guys. A lot of responsibility, and it's a lot of empowerment. And sometimes, what was the Spider-Man said? With great power comes great responsibility.
And
So
know that sometimes even a little bit of power goes to your head and makes you an asshole if you don't know what you're doing. So be careful.
that's my point. So make sure that just because you have that gun, first of all, it doesn't make you a tough guy or girl, and it could potentially make you a very dangerous asshole. So that's really what it boils down to. So make sure you're mentally, physically prepared. Make sure you've done your research, you've done your homework, you're putting in your range time, you're understanding your equipment, you're understanding what your responsibilities are, you're understanding that you're practical, not tactical. You keep good situational awareness. You understand that you have to abide by the law. You have to understand all of these things before you even consider picking up a firearm on a day-to-day basis. Okay? That's 100% of everything that you need to think about prior to even seeking out your training is to understand everything that we just went over. Now, I'm going to open the chat up and say anybody's got any questions for myself or Terry. I'll try to address them. And if it's something related to this, I will do everything I can to be able to answer the best way I can.
I actually had one Leaducated, and it
Sure.
focuses on ammo specifically because personally, I have Hornady critical defense hollow points that I carry in my 9mm. The reason I bring this up is because I know a lot of people that use the standard full, as they call, full metal jacket. It's a standard, more of a target round. And the problem with carrying that as a defense round is not only are you going to take out your target, but you might take out the next 2 or 3 behind it. Sure. In my opinion.
Well, the way that a full metal jacket actually does is it's actually got a copper jacket all the way around the lead projectile. Well, lead is what really disforms when it goes through. Okay. So when you're actually shooting a full metal jacket, the chances of overpenetration are huge. And the chances of an actual wound cavity that's actually torn up by anything jagged potentially be quicker to neutralize aggression is really slim. So you're going to punch right through something and it's going to be a really small little wound. So absolutely make sure that you actually get good defensive ammunition. That's an absolute must. Absolutely. Let's see if we have any over here.
And know that they have I know Byrna makes a small little, it's a little pistol, but it's like a paintball pistol. It has regular rubber rounds. It has CS gas. It has pepper spray. That is a great alternative for someone who doesn't want to carry an actual firearm and doesn't feel safe with pepper spray and wants to maybe feel like they have a weapon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, once again, I'm referring this to firearms, guys, but it doesn't mean that's it's an entirety. And yes, keep your booger hook off the bang switch. I've seen somebody say that. That's all part of the range stuff. You'll learn all that at the range, I promise. Let's see. Get rid of that thing. That's driving me crazy. Anybody else?
Something I tell a lot of the guys I know that carry, get somewhere where you don't have to worry about your friends and family making fun of you, and practice your draw. I mean, I don't expect you to look like Billy the Kid out there, but if you can't get it out when you need it, then there's no point in having it with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for the record, somebody did say that pellet guns work well for chili. I think we've seen that. I mean, I'm just saying, I think that's been confirmed. My opinion on frangible rounds. Are you talking about like the Glazer stuff that they had? Is that what you mean? Like that type of stuff? The problem that I found with that type of stuff, in my opinion, is they had a real inconsistency when it comes to penetration. They were having some that would penetrate okay, and then there was some of them that wasn't penetrating worth a crap. Like 2 and 3 inches in jail. So that would kind of worry me. I personally like a good hollow point. The Hornady critical defense stuff is good stuff. Hornady always makes good stuff. Some of the federal stuff that they came out with in the past few years is good stuff. I mean, there's a bunch of them. You can go out and get some good hollow points from just about every major manufacturer.
Apparently, Salacious had a question about a slide. I must have missed it here. I'm looking through here trying to find it. I must have missed the question. Sorry about that, Salacious. I apologize.
Let's see my question about the slide on a. Yeah, you'll have to ask it again, dear. I'm sorry, I didn't see it. see. Yeah, steel case. Well, the problem with steel casings is they're really hard on your extractor. Oh my gosh, man! A lot of guns, like a lot of guns, you're going to replace. If you shoot a lot of steel cased ammunition, you're going to replace your extractor very, very frequently.
Make sure you take that steel cased ammunition and you put that in the back of your ammo to use last. That is your last resort ammo there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would use that as a lot. I wouldn't never carry full metal jackets for defensive round anyway. That would never happen.
Hey, Captain, I have a question for you. Star 17
Sure.
was saying that since the concealed permit went away, they felt that more people were carrying open, and I don't think that's true. Because Ohio's always been an open carry state. Those that open carry always have open carried, always will open carry. The only thing that taking the concealed permit away would increase is people carrying more concealed weapons. That would not equal people carrying more open carried
Right.
weapons.
Yeah. I don't think it's. Yeah. I don't think it's going to do that. I hope that it actually increases the amount of people that are armed, because I firmly believe, and we've seen that a lot of times, is the good guy with a gun is the only way to really neutralize the bad guy with a gun. So and sometimes the old saying, it's faster than calling 911, is really, really true, guys. It really is. You could be the difference in maybe saving some little kid's life. Just
As I
remember that.
always say, when seconds count, the police are a minimum of minutes away.
Yeah. We met with a large magazine long gun, armed or not, do what? I'm trying to understand what you're saying, dear. When met with large magazine long gun, armed or not, do what? I guess I'm not understanding.
I would say if you're not armed, you probably just got shot. If that's an active shooter, I'm not sure the context of that question.
Yeah, I guess maybe I'm missing the context too. I'm sorry. Ultimately, remember that there's always going to be, despite what your adversary has, if you don't have anything, you're screwed. It doesn't necessarily mean that that just because they have a long gun and you don't, doesn't mean you're going to lose a gunfight. But I can promise you that if they've got a gun and you don't have a gun, then you're going to lose a gunfight.
Tony W. out there in the chat, I don't think we'll ever be to the point where a good guy with a gun is never needed in America or any other country. Just saying. There'll always need to be good guys with weapons. Otherwise, there will always be bad guys with them. That's a fact.
Okay, Lovelace, I didn't get your question, dear, so you'll have to ask it again, because I'm just trying to focus on the ones that are popping up I can see. So, your pistol would not have done nothing. I don't guess I understand that.
Ed 209 is asking you a question there, Leaducated.
Okay. My wife and I are going shooting at the range before dinner tonight. What should I practice besides? Magazine changes. Magazine changes a big one. Magazine changes, point fire shooting, shoot one-handed, that type of thing. Those type of drills are always good. Sometimes shooting from attention, actually drawing from your holster and shooting, two on target and reholster, so on and so forth. That type of stuff's good.
And there's Salacious question again. She said, husband got me a 357 revolver years ago because even though I'm a very strong girl, apparently she has a problem pulling the slide back, and wondering if you have found that other women have that problem, or is
Absolutely.
it just
Nope, that's all the time. There's actually some guns. I think Smith & Wesson came out with one just a few years ago that's actually like the Easy Draw or something like they call it. And it's actually designed just for that. The recoil spring is really, really light, so it actually allows you to be able to rack the slide really easily. Let's see. Let me see if I'm missing some. Terry, you see that I'm missing?
No, I didn't see any more. I think we've answered them all. I think. If I've missed you, holler at me again. Sorry about that. Sometimes the chat runs a little bit fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Good old boy. Always check your state laws by all means. Yeah. Um, and and I'll say this: any gun is better than no gun in a gunfight. So if you want to carry a firearm, then get the one that you're comfortable with that you'll carry, because ultimately that's going to be better than not having anything. I can tell you that.
And sometimes it might come down to simple price, as it did me in the beginning. I started carrying a high point. I got laughed at by everybody else around me, but that's okay because it's just as deadly as the Glock I carry now.
That bangs
My,
bang,
my,
right?
my suggestion with a high point, though, is if you have a high point handgun, you better get two if you need to practice with it, because you don't want to use the one you're going to carry to plink with, or you'll wear it out.
Yeah, they
So,
don't last very long.
A Glock you can't hurt, but a high point you want to make sure that you only use for that defensive reason.
Yeah, you're definitely not gonna. They're not gonna last the 100,000 round challenge. I promise that. So.
Oh, did you see the YouTube video on how to stop a high point from jamming? They have a very high ratio of jams, and I found that if you take the bottom plate out of the magazine and bend the thing down exactly 90 degrees, you lose one round, but it'll never jam again. That's all in the magazines of the high points.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if it works, right? Who cares? I mean, I usually always do a little bit of cleanup on the like the feed ramps and stuff on mine. Just because I always want to make sure everything
Huh.
is right.
Archangel 3 said he used one as a boat anchor once. That was all it was good for, a high point.
No kidding. That's crazy. But that's about true. But I can't say that. It's if they work, they work. I mean, I
I
don't
agree.
really.
I agree with good old boy there. If you carry a gun in your car, don't run your mouth on a traffic stop. That is excellent advice right there. You need to approach the police much differently if you are armed.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you need to be nice to people anyway, whether they're police or not police, or whether you have a gun or don't. Just be nice to people.
Yeah, but if you can't be nice, you shouldn't have a firearm. You're one of those people who should not have one.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. And I also want to say too, since we were talking about the high point thing, I'm not going to brand promote here. I've got my own opinions about things, and the ones that I like and the ones I carry. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into the caliber war and all that stuff, because everybody's got their own opinions, and I'm not going to play into that game. But
I'm not sure if Big Girl's question is addressed to you or not, but they were asking if do you agree that a woman may lose their gun if carried in the purse?
I mean, it depends on how
I
you carry
suppose
it.
if it's a purse thief, you might.
Yeah, I mean that's possible. Um,
Again, like I said earlier, if you're going to carry, you need to know that you can get to it and get it out within a reasonable amount of time to be used.
yeah, that's the thing, is it's not going to do a whole lot of good if it's something that you can't get to easily. So remember that. That's just the reality. Always
Very
make
good.
sure that.
Salacious has a good comment there.
I guess I haven't got it.
She said the one thing that helped her the most to be more comfortable with the revolver at home while her husband was deployed was simply to hold it, remove and replace the bullets, and just fondle it. Get used to the weapon that you have, the weight, how to load, how to unload. That is actually a good idea. Always be familiar with what you carry.
I would recommend that if you're going to be doing that with live ammunition, that you do it at the range. If you're going to be doing it at your house, you probably need to get some dummy rounds. Just because while you're still learning that, that's not the place you want to mess up and have a learning error.
Well, theoretically, in a revolver, you should be okay. I would say average if you're loading and unloading. Any other type of weapon, yeah, you might have a misfire if you're not confident in handling it. Inside the house is never a good idea unless you're dry firing or have dummy rounds. I will agree with that. I actually have an ex-uncle, a guy my aunt was married to at one point. He shot 2 holes through his ceiling 2 different times trying to clean an unloaded 12 gauge, he thought.
Okay, let me read this. Let me know if I'm wrong. Will or have never spoke. Are you talking to me? I guess I misunderstood. Please quickly cover responsible carry. Well, I think that's kind of what I've covered as responsible carry. I mean, everything that I've kind of put in place. I mean, remember that everything that we're talking about is obviously making sure that you kind of do all the mental evaluations and making sure that you're doing the things you're supposed to. Because if you're not, then you don't even need to be carrying. If you can't keep basic gun safety in, then you're crazy. You shouldn't even be fooling with it.
And as far as having weapons around kids, you have to understand, I grew up with them. I mean, I basically cut my teeth on them. The thing about it is the adults in charge have to educate. If there are going to be kids in the house where firearms are, the children need to be educated. They do not need to be hidden like they don't exist, because when they find them, they're going to be curious and somebody's going to get hurt. They need to be educated as to exactly what they do. Take the curiosity out. Then they'll understand it's not a toy, just like they don't grab your car keys and run out and drive down the road. They're not going to grab the gun, run out and shoot somebody.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I mean,
more education.
They don't normally grab the hammer out of the closet and beat holes in the wall because they know better. You need to educate the children around you.
Absolutely. Can't honestly echo that enough. That's absolutely spot on, in my opinion. You will never overeducate your children when it comes to gun safety, in my opinion. My kids were very familiar with firearms from the time they were babies because I knew what I was teaching them, and I took the curiosity away from them. Now, you do the things that you feel like you have to, and you do it your way, but education is the key. Absolutely. Absolutely. So does anybody else have any questions involving concealed carry or seeking any type of training or anything that maybe I could help you? I'd be happy to help any way I can. And if I missed any questions, I'm sorry. Like I said, you guys know I suck at the chat. I try my best.
Boo Boo Bunny says that her dad brought his weapons out and showed them to the kids and kept them in a safe in his bedroom. You know, nobody in my family's ever owned a gun safe until like the last 20 years. My uncle started buying them because they had a lot of weapons, I guess just somewhere to put them. But there are always open weapons in almost every member of my family on both sides' households. They've always been there. I mean,
Okay.
most of them, it's not like they lay it in the middle of the coffee table or set it beside the couch for kids to play with. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying they are. I mean, if a kid wants to get into the cookie jar, he'll find a way to climb into the cabinet. It's the same thing with a loaded weapon. So know your child, know your weapon, and if you can't trust your child, then make sure you have that thing put up where they can't get to it.
And Miss Mandy, yes, if you don't care, if there's any questions that I'm missing or whatever, or Terry's missing, if you don't care to address it, or if it's something that you'd rather us answer, then please make sure that it's brought to my attention if you don't mind. Quit teaching. Sons want me armed. Oh yeah, now that's what I'm talking about. Okay, this is right up my wheelhouse. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. There is so many good firearms out there now. It is so hard to even say. You know what? I love those Springfield Hellcats that just came out. They just came out. It's been a few years now. Obviously, the SIGs, they make great stuff. Glock makes great stuff. I got to tell you this, J-Car, in my opinion, if I was going to have one gun, I would probably buy a Glock 19. I think
that happens to be my personal favorite. I like it really well as well. I like it really well.
It's the first real combat worthy gun. It's the right size. I mean, it's not too big. It's not too small. It's got good capacity. And the good thing about it is it will go bang every time you pull the trigger. That is, in my opinion, that is the standard for all defensive firearms. That's just my opinion.
The most beautiful thing about a Glock, other than the fact that it's so easy to break down and clean and throw back together in just a few seconds, is just the fact you can pretty much store that thing in salt water as long as the ammo's good. Pull it out, throw a magazine in it, and go to racking them off.
They definitely run. They definitely run. A Glock 19, you'll never be sorry.
I knew a guy who had one on a motorcycle. Somehow it come loose and went bouncing and skidding down the highway, like probably 150 yards or so. It did not fire. And of course it was a little bit scratched up on the paint and everything, but he picked it up and went to the range and it shot just perfectly fine, like a brand new one.
Yeah, I mean they do really well. I mean I've seen them fail. I mean I've seen them have malfunctions and stuff. So I don't I mean it's obviously it's a machine. So any machine is the possibility of it failing. Okay, but I will say for a gun that you're going to spend that kind of money for, that's without getting into some of the big super crazy type prices that you're going to pay for a gun. You're going to buy a Glock for $500 or something. You're not going to get another gun that's going to be better consistently than that.
And if you got a good one, I mean, there's always some that I guess in any mass manufacturing, there's always some that don't get made quite well, like a late Friday night or early Monday morning pistol. But for the most part, a Glock is just reliable. It's not that there aren't many other brands that are too. I just prefer the Glock just because it's so simple, easy, and like he says, it's kind of like a combat ready handgun. It's made for that, where some of the others are made better for looks or more for this or more for that. The Glock is made to pull out and shoot. That's what it's made for.
Yep. And there's a bunch of them that are now. I mean, there's a bunch of them. SIG makes a really good gun. SIGs are just really expensive. I like SIGs really well. I like HKs really well, but you better have a deep pocketbook if you want to get into that type of stuff. So,
is there a weapon we don't like, Captain? I mean, I like them all, to be honest. I don't care what brand name's on it. I love them all.
No, I'm just being honest. There's not. I like them all. Absolutely. I love my firearms, and I have ever since I was a little kid. So, I mean, my God, guys, my channel's called Leaducated. Yeah.
I agree with you, Scott. If you have a problem where you can't keep your, as he says, your booger hook off that trigger, then yes, you definitely need a trigger safety.
Absolutely. I'm not an advocate. I'm going to say this, and this is probably going to rise some feathers. I'm not an advocate on having a safety on a handgun. I don't like it. I think it's nonsense. I don't want to have a safety on a handgun.
That's the reason I carry the Glock I carry, because it does have a trigger safety, but it doesn't work like most people think of a safety.
Right. When I say safety, I mean a manual safety.
Right.
Yeah. The trigger safeties, firearm block, stuff like that doesn't bother me. But a manual safety, I don't want to have to think about flipping a switch to be able to fire a gun. That's just my opinion. I mean, everybody's got their own opinion, but
it's kind of like carrying one without carrying one in the chamber. You don't have a weapon yet if it's not chambered and ready to fire. When you squeeze that trigger, you might as well throw it at them as a rock.
Yeah, don't do that. If you're going to carry a firearm, make it loaded and ready. I mean, that's just my opinion. But you're definitely going to always be better off. Be better off to actually do your training.
Kind of like sitting in a car with an empty gas tank, ain't it, Captain?
That's exactly what it's like. Yeah, like having a can of gas in the back seat. Yes, funny story. Did you know that Justin? Did you know that the Glock 17 got its model number 17? Can anybody answer that question? Where that model number come from? Because I probably know so much stupid gun trivia and stuff and stuff.
Well, I know I have no idea, so I'm interested. You got me interested now.
Okay, he actually had applied for a bunch of different patents. He was just an inventor in general. I think he was a blade maker. He made knives and stuff, and the Glock 17 was his 17th ever patent. So that's where that came from. He actually just numbered his patents, and that was the model of that number, which I thought was kind of neat.
Oh, and apparently Scott is he was telling me that he was trying to speak to the people who are not as ready to carry firearms as we are. And again, I agree with you. If you're not familiar with it and you're carrying anyway, you need a safety. However, that safety, that extra couple seconds that it takes you, if you're not used to your firearm and you have to flip off that safety, that you may not get a shot off.
Yep.
But remember, I'm not telling anyone who's inexperienced to carry to start with. You should be experienced enough before you step out of the house with one concealed or not concealed. You should be familiar enough and comfortable enough with yourself and your pistol to not need a safety. If you are not that comfortable with it, you should not carry.
Absolutely. That's really what it boils down to, is that's kind of where the preparedness came from at the beginning. Everything else after that is specific. Okay. That's individual. Everything at the beginning is your own mental evaluations of where you think you are and how much responsibility you really want to take on. That's really what it kind of comes down to. Yes, JCar, you can handle a Glock. Generally speaking, there's they got the gosh, is it the 48? Is that what it is now? The the slimmer version. I can't remember the model numbers now, but yeah, there's a Glock is a very easy manipulated weapon. Absolutely, Justin. The only safety you need is between your ears and your booger hook.
Salacious says she asked another question, but I'm not finding it, so I'm not seeing it at all. See if you can find it there.
Let's see.
And while you're looking for that, let's see. Ginger asked if I could ask you what's the law about carrying a blade for those of us who, let's see, where'd it go? It went away on me. For those of us who have been abused close up. So I guess as far as carrying a knife, what kind of restrictions do we have there?
Every state's different. You just have to seek your own state. When you teach, are there any tips you can offer when someone has to relearn to aim? Oh yeah, that's. I'll be honest with you. I'm actually left eye dominant and I'm right-handed. So yeah, that happens all the time. You get used to it. You'll start shielding your eye. You're not going to shoot with both eyes open for a while. I don't like the cross-eyed thing where you're trying to sight down your left eye if it's or other way around. Just don't do that. Just learn to kind of start half squinting and stuff. You'll get it. Comes a time. Absolutely.
Yes, Ginger, he did see that, and he is advising that you look at your local laws for carrying a knife. Because I know here in Ohio we have certain laws, but if you cross the bridge into West Virginia, they may or may not be exactly the same.
Yeah, every state's gonna have their own laws. So. Yeah, you have to remember that, like, ultimately, Tony, as far as restricted, yeah, that's going to be up to the individual state. Ultimately, if you use it in defensive nature, it's not going to be any more illegal to take somebody's life theoretically with a knife than it is a gun, except for totality of circumstance, meaning that everything's going to matter of how it happened. So, if you have to defend your life, you have to explain to a jury of your peers what happened. And if you were acting reasonable, then it's not going to matter. It's not going to be any different.
But do understand that a concealed carry permit, I assume we can still seek one here in Ohio, and the only reason you would is if you go to a state that does not allow you to carry without one concealed, you would need the reciprocity. But understand that only works for a firearm. It does not work for a knife or any other concealed deadly weapon. It only works for a firearm.
Right. As far as that law goes, yes. I may have misread his question. I thought he was referring to what is it different when he uses force.
He was. I was just making it plain that the concealed carry permit, even if you have one, does not allow you to carry a huge knife concealed. That's not how that works.
Okay.
At least in the state of Ohio, I know that concealed permit is only for a firearm.
He lunged at me. I fear for my life. I mean, you're once again. Don't say anything to anybody until you're turning. Because you got to remember that everything that you say and anything can be taken out of context. So, absolutely. J-Car, you'd be better trained by somebody who's a professional trainer. You find somebody who's actually training, who's actually a firearm instructor in your area. That's the key.
I would agree, but know that not all firearms training classes are equal, just like crackers. No. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, just not all of them are equal. Not everyone out there who is an instructor, in my opinion, I would waste my time and effort and money going to.
I absolutely agree with that too.
I'm not sure how you would research the people in your local area to decide who to be taught from, though. Do you have any advice on that, Leaducated?
To be honest with you, no. I mean, the NRA instructors that because they got so broad for a while, it's kind of hard to say, because like before it was like, oh, well, he's got this qualification. But like I said, to be honest with you, I always judge instructors by the amount of brass at their feet.
Well, when you're calling them in the phone book or you're trying to set up to start taking a class, you won't get to see any of that. That's what I'm saying. You're just taking a shot in the dark.
Pretty much. I mean, I really don't know how you would evaluate what kind of instructor is without seeing what kind of curriculum he offers, and talk
Well,
to him.
maybe when you call them, maybe you can ask if you can just show up and observe a class and observe the range shooting without being part of the class to decide whether or not you want to be part of the class. If they want that green money of yours in their pocket, they'll let you do it, I think.
And I'll tell you this too. Just remember too that any class that you see that's going to be like concealed carry class that you see that's going to be like 2, 3, 4 hours. No, you should be looking for classes that are 4 to 8 or 10 hours at least, because chances are you're probably not getting very much information anything shorter than that. That's awesome.
I think Ginger might be talking to us. I think she feels that we didn't answer the question. What he's trying to tell you is without knowing the local laws of where you're at, he can't really answer that question. Is it a good idea to carry a knife? I think he already answered that earlier.
Sure. Yeah. But I mean, I'm saying a knife is in. I'm not talking about like a big Jim Bowie knife. I mean, I'm talking about something that's practical.
What about one of those ninja swords that stick out between your shoulder blades in the back?
Oh yeah, like Deadpool. You need
good katana,
Yeah.
Hey, and that way you'll be able to block bullets too. I seen Deadpool do it.
Well, he tried.
That must be some good metal.
Yeah, he tried. He ended up getting shot, but he thought it looked cool anyway. So let's see what else we got. Hi, Mrs. Bitts. How are you, dear? Look at each other. Absolutely. You just got to look at your state. I mean, as far as laws go, there's no way I could tell you what the laws are going to be. And honestly, I really can't tell you what laws are going to be anyway, because that's kind of an attorney question. Laws are going to be absolutely, up for interpretation. Do you guys find intimidation or absolutely not? Never consider intimidation. Absolutely not. That old psychological thing of racking a shotgun is bullshit. If somebody wants to hurt you, that they're not worried about that. That's all nonsense.
I'll tell you, my first reaction if someone were to rack a slide and say some cool one-liner stuff, they'd probably have 3 holes in them before they could finish speaking, because I would pull and shoot.
Yes, the old saying of intimidation and stuff. The problem is that during a home invasion, you have to remember something. There's a lot difference in a home invasion and an accidental burglary, where they come in and they don't know somebody's there. Somebody that comes in for a home invasion already knows they're coming to a fight. They're walking into a fight. They're mentally, psychologically, or something is either wrong with them or they're prepared for it. So racking that shotgun is not going to do anything but give away your position. Remember, practical equals tactical. So if you know somebody's there, I want to be quiet. I want to be in the fight before they are. How's that? I teach, Jane, I teach defensive tactics. I teach women's self-defense. I teach defensive pistol 1, weapons retention. Let's see, close quarters combat is in, let's see, what else I teach? Carbine 1, shotgun 1, shotgun 2, shotgun 3. I don't know. I mean, I got a long list of stuff I teach. I teach people to fight with guns as opposed to shoot guns. Would you have to carry
Salacious? It would probably be easier for you to delete your own comments, Salacious. You can go back and delete your comments if you like. I'm not sure which one you're talking about there.
I don't either. Oh, this one? Is this what it's talking about? Oh,
maybe they're just asking you to take it off the screen. I don't know.
Oh, well.
There's one thing that I would like to maybe get through some people's heads, because I know some people have a warped idea of how things work. Know that people who break into someone's home to get something, 99% of the time they know the exact home that they're breaking into. They know exactly where what they're looking for is, or at least they know it's in the home, or they wouldn't be going. I don't think there are really any thieves like in Home Alone that just drive around a neighborhood and say, oh, hell, this looks like a good house. We're going to break in here and see if we can find something to steal. That is not how a thief operates. That's just not how it works. So know that if someone's breaking into your home after you've shot them, you're probably going to find out that you know them.
Well, and keep in mind too, in a home invasion, like I said, it's on purpose. They're doing it while you're there. They know they're going into a fight. It's different. It's a very scary thing. It's not real common, thank God. It's not real common that we actually deal with home invasions, but they do happen. And their intent is usually blatantly violent. So let's remember that.
Unless they're hoping you're not home and they're just trying to steal whatever it was they were trying to get a hold of and get out before they get caught.
But that's the difference in a burglary or unintentional home invasion and an actual home invasion. So,
oh, excuse me, terminology messes with me, Leaducated. I didn't realize the difference between a burglary and a home invasion. I assumed that a home invasion would equal burglary, but I suppose not. I guess not. If they were intent on doing you harm, that's different than trying to steal something.
Burglary is in Ohio. Burglary is to enter an occupied or potentially occupied structure. A home invasion is deliberately to enter to someone who is in there. So yeah, that's different.
Sorry about my misunderstanding there.
Jay Carr would work on large animals, as in, like you talk about a 9mm working on. Captain, do you teach classes? I absolutely, Justin. That's what I do. This place right here, Edwards Training Center. I teach for them.
A Glock with the right caliber will take down just about anything, but a 9mm against a bear, you're going to have to fire more than 2 or 3 shots into it, I would say, and that may not make it stop.
Ooh, I wouldn't want to try.
That's like trying to stop a freight train with a BB gun. It's probably not going to end well for you. I'd say if you're in the woods and you got big animals like that, you need to carry something a little bit bigger than a Glock handgun.
Yeah, a Glock is designed for 2-legged creatures.
How about a Desert Eagle 50 cal? Maybe that'll take down a bear.
It depends, and that's the thing too, is you gotta remember, depending on what kind of bear we're talking about. If you're talking about a grizzly bear, you better have a big gun.
Well, thank God we don't have those here. We have those little black bears. They're not so mean compared to a grizzly.
Right. Absolutely.
Not that you can walk up and pet them. They don't like that much, but
No. If I was gonna go into bear country or like mountain lions or something like that, I would want at least a 44 Magnum. That's just my opinion. Now there's some people that carries 10mm. Joshua Lee, I don't recommend a 20. My opinion, I think the self-defense guns start with a 380 and they go up. I think anything smaller than a 380, you're just running the risk of not incapacitating your adversary.
However, if it's what you have, it can and has and will kill.
Sure, absolutely. Actually, as a matter of fact, as far as civilian guns, there's never been a more lethal gun than a 22 long rifle. It's killed more people than anybody, but it's not a defensive gun. It's not something that's going to stop necessarily somebody who's charging at you. You're going to have to shoot a lot of times.
I'd rather have a rifle and be a little further away if I was using a 22 personally.
Let's see what else. Yes, chili chicken out. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he chickened out the day he heard that you had the fight set up. I think the rest of this is just show for money. That's my opinion. I think he chickened out the minute he knew you had it set.
It's very possible. I don't know. And once we get closed up on this, I'll end by talking a little bit about some stuff on that, just to catch you guys up before I go for the day. Does anybody else have any questions regarding any kind of concealed carry, defensive tactics, defensive nature type questions? And if not, then I'll close by saying a few things about the fight and about some training and stuff. Just seeing here if anything pops up, guys. Sometimes because I'm on this StreamYard, guys, when your messages come in, they come in really, really slow. So it's not that I'm like ignoring you or something. It's just that my actual real time and compared to what you're hearing and seeing is way off.
I see a comment that says good gun care for older guns. No, good gun care for every one you have. Treat it like your vehicle. Treat it like a baby. Make sure you pamper it, powder it, oil it, keep it clean. That way you know that it'll work when you need it. Remember, too, that if you're going to have your guns in a safe, make sure the humidity levels. As far as tips go, I would be really careful with the type of solvents that I would put on those old metals. That's something. That's something that you definitely need to check. So, but as far as everything else goes, yeah, it's going to be the same thing. Just don't shoot them as much, especially if they're real old, like
pre-1900. They're black powder. So you better make sure you got the right stuff.
Hey, Leaducator, a question off topic, completely off topic. Are there any rules, regulations, or laws against feeding the homeless in Ironton that you know of? Any
No.
ordinances that would stop us from, maybe setting up with some bread and some bologna to, just to give them a sandwich?
Um, Let me say this unofficially. I do quite often. Every time I run into somebody, I'll ask them if they've eaten, and usually run through Wendy's or something for them if I can.
Well, Jane and American Pride and myself, and a couple other people here in the local area, we were thinking about getting together and just, I see the problem is if you try to serve like cooked food, you got the health department breathing down your neck if you don't have a 3-compartment sink and blah 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 blah. But I figure if we show up like with some lunch meat and some bread and some, just to throw it all together on the back of the car or something, I was hoping that would be fine.
That's something you'd have to ask the mayor's office, Terry. Unofficially, I could tell you that I can never imagine anybody getting mad if you're doing something nice for people. But that's just me.
Now, who did you say to ask? I'm sorry.
The mayor's office.
Mayor?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and end this. I actually had intentions I was not going to go over an hour and a half on this today, guys. But I got a big mouth, and I just keep talking, so I'm sorry. So let me just say this. First of all, the training last night was friggin' awesome. Getting to hang out with Spencer. He is such a good guy. Somebody that had 17 UFC fights, and he was a hell of a fighter. But to actually, get to hang out with him and actually get to pick his brain, he showed me a lot of stuff, and it was awesome. And he actually he reaffirmed a lot of the stuff that my coaches already say, and then I'm going, oh yeah, I know. But then to hear it again, it's like, okay, you're right, I get it. So, but that being said, we had a good little work last night. I didn't roll because I'm still kind of babying my knee, but I'm here to tell you right now, I'm fighting in September. I'm not worried about my leg anymore. Whatever's wrong with my leg, I'll deal with September 25th. Right now, I'm training to whip somebody's ass, and that's what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm focused, I'm driven, and I'm not thinking about it anymore. I'll tape the hell out of it, and we're going to go. Right now, it's not bad anyway. Okay, I'm excited. I'm super stoked. I've got the best training crew, the best gym around. Tars MMA is the best I've ever. Those guys are top notch. I am so super happy and super stoked. Some of the training that I started today, like he had me Spencer had me actually work out on the hand bikes thing and stuff, and put the resistance up high and go for 12 minutes or something like that. But with the resistance high, trying to make it go fast and produce so many watts. Oh my gosh, it's brutal, but it's awesome. So I'm super excited about that. I have been told by the promoter that he did confirm that he did send the contract to Chile, and that Chile acknowledged the fact that he got it. And I've been told, he said even on his live stream that he got it. However, it has not been returned back to the promoter yet. And the promoter said that once that happens, he will send me the updated contract this week for me to go ahead and sign. But
and do you remember right off when they said those tickets might go on sale? Wasn't it 5 weeks before? Did I hear that correctly?
August 20th.
August 20th. There you go, guys. So August 20th, be looking for those tickets.
I'm absolutely thrilled, guys. You guys don't understand how excited I am after working with Spencer last night, and to hear Spencer Fisher tell me when he was working stand up and holding for me and stuff, and he goes, "Dang," he's like, "Your right hand is strong, man." And I was like, "Yeah." And he's
Leaducator, Lisa's saying that Bits wanted to come up for a minute. I didn't see that, but that's what I'm seeing here.
He's not. He's got the link. He's had it.
Well, then maybe you don't want to come up then.
Yeah, I don't think so. Hey, Bits, he's in the chat. Bits, I think he wasn't feeling well earlier. Bits, did you want to come up and say anything to anybody? You're more than welcome to, buddy. You know that. Yes, Frankie, Spencer is legit, and I'm telling you right now, man, his jiu-jitsu is off the freaking chain, bro. I'm serious. Oh, I guess Bits is coming up. I'm sorry. My buddy, how you feeling now there, bud?
Hello, Bits. How you doing?
Feel awful. Feel terrible.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah.
I thought we would go for a run this evening, Bits. Are you game or what, bud?
Well, unless you want puke all over you.
Hey, I tell you what, when I was in the military, they didn't give me a choice. I had to run and throw up at the same time, man.
I've got to get back on track this week. Minor thumble this weekend.
It happens.
Do you need anything, sir? Is there anything that we can do for you?
No, I'm good. I'm just going through the motions. This happens from time to time. What? Not the drinking. I don't really drink that often, but last night I did. But no. I was going to say just hop on just for a minute while you're getting ready to head out. I was going to say I'm going to get back into training this week. So
you heard it, guys. You heard it. Everybody in the chat heard him say that Rocky Bits Boa is back. Finger guns. Finger guns.
Finger guns. I got these loaded and ready. These are ready.
We're going to get back in the gym this week, and guess what? My knee is good enough now that I can start putting some pressure on Bits. So we're going to work a little bit of stand-up type stuff and work some mitts with him, and then hopefully within the next couple of weeks, Bits is going to be sparring me.
He's going to be
cocked, locked, and ready to rock.
So
he's going to get to punch me, and I'm going to get to punch him.
So we're going to work on some stuff, and I'm going to see if I can get him up to speed on some good stuff. So, and I want you guys to remember that I am absolutely, I appreciate you guys so much, man. You guys keep me going. You really do, and I am so super excited about all this stuff. And after last night, it just like re-energized me too. Hearing somebody that's, actually was fought in the UFC. He's 17 times fought in the UFC, and I think he fought Bellator as well. And for him to actually tell me, oh, yeah, dude, you're looking good. It's good, man. Your right hand's brutal. He's like, yeah, you're great. I was like, and I'm going, oh, yeah. I was like, yeah.
Billy's going to love that right hand, is he not?
I'm going to feed it to him. I'm going to spoon feed him. What have I said all along? What have I said all along? Anybody in the chat right now has been following me. Have I not told everybody in this chat he's going to eat my overhand right? Mm-hmm. Every single time I brought this up, it's going to be the overhand right. I'm going to knock his ass out. Because I've been saying that all along, and I was like, stuff. But you know what? And I'm saying being playful, guys, but I am having fun with it. And I do feel comfortable in my boxing, and I feel comfortable with my overhand right. And I certainly feel comfortable in my jiu-jitsu. So either way he goes, I'm going to whip his ass. So if he wants to stand up, I'll whip his ass. If he wants to go to the ground, I'll whip his ass. If he wants to, keep trying to do this nonsense, I'm going to whip his ass mentally, whatever it takes. So either way, we're going to go this. We're going to keep going the way we are. And I'm absolutely thrilled. Like, I'm so stoked. September can't come fast enough. I'm ready.
I still think we need to get some we need to get some video clips of y'all training and fighting, and maybe Bits could take those and rework them and put a little music behind it and make it interesting for people to watch, because I don't have that ability, but I'd be willing to come and be the cameraman for y'all. It's not about making my channel better. It's about us sticking together. So I don't care whose channel it appears on. It's not about that, but just making, I think people want to see that. I know I do.
We could definitely do that. That'd be a pretty good idea. I was going to say too, Leaducated, you got the whole tri-state rooting for you.
Yeah,
you said
man.
It yourself. You've got people on the streets honking their horns and yelling for you. So you've got the support of an army of a bunch of crazy Ironton rednecks like us.
Well,
ain't nothing like having a group of hillbillies in your pocket, son. Nothing like
exactly.
it.
When I got out of the car the other day, I started walking in one of the gas stations, and I heard the horn honking and stuff. And this guy's at a stop sign. He goes, "What's up, Captain?" And I said, "Hey, how are you?" And he says, "Bring on September, yeah." And I was like, "Yeah," and I was all excited, whatever. So a little bit later, like I'd stopped like later in the shift, I had to actually go back in the gas station, a different gas station. And I get out of the car and I hear somebody lay on the horn and all this stuff. And they're like, "Go get him, Captain." And like everywhere I went, people were like patting me on the back and shaking my hand and stuff. It's like, man, we're so excited. I was like, you guys ain't near as excited as I am, I promise. So it's going to be awesome. and I'm stoked, absolutely stoked. So, and I'll tell you this, and I seen somebody, I don't know who it was, somebody in the chat just a minute ago said he's going to know the overhand right's coming. And honestly, I will tell him before we go in the cage, it's going to be this one. It's going to be this one. This is the one right here. And I'll let him know. And he still can't stop it. It's not going to happen. So he's not a boxer. He's not a fighter. He's not. He's never done it. And Frankie, you know what? I was just asking that question. Has anybody seen him training other than dragging that poor dog around?
I've seen him training lives. I've seen clips of him doing a lot of lives. I've seen no training. I did see him sprint once, and from what I understand, he was huffing pretty good after that. So I'm not sure he's anywhere near ready for you, sir.
Well, I was just thinking that I haven't seen him do any fight training at all, but I may be wrong. I don't know.
He has been posting. He made a community post yesterday, I believe. He took a screenshot of my chat and said it was a death threat, which is clearly not really a death threat, but he is getting reamed like from every comment on that thing. There's like 200 some comments, and everybody's basically saying you're fucking stupid.
Well, that most of us already took to be self-evident, didn't we? Hey, Captain, maybe he thinks he's going to walk in there and audit you. Maybe he's training for a good audit instead of a good fight. Maybe that's why the fight's going to go all bad.
I don't know. Maybe. And you know, maybe he is. Maybe he's a lot more trained than we realize, but whatever. But I can tell you this: years of doing this type of stuff, and if you're not, I don't give a damn who you are. If you're not prepared for the speed of the fight and you don't train, you're going to get hurt.
You did know that the Ironton Tribune has a poll going, right?
No way.
Oh yeah, the Ironton Tribune.
James was bringing up
there. I'd forgotten about that, but yes, they have a poll going on, and for the moment, of course, you're in the favor to win. I would say.
That's right. All right. Oh, I see. Jane just posted that. Yeah. Okay. So right now, Bits is going to try to find that. I'm guessing.
Let's see.
J Car wants to know if you're afraid of his camera and his trifold. Are you afraid you might get trifolded in the cage?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can't handle no trifolding.
Can you not, like, there it is.
Yeah, Lisa said he keeps saying he's going to meet up with someone to train him. Well, my question is, what, the day before the fight?
Yeah. If he don't have at least a couple months in, man, he's going to be, I mean, because I can tell you this. I mean, what was funny was when I very first started this little venture and I said, I'm going to need a few months to train. And like all of his cronies were like, oh, you should be ready to fight right now. I was like, that just shows right there. You have no clue what the hell you're talking about. Because first of all, I'm older, and even if I was in shape, being actually fight shape, the speed of the fight, and actually being able to go hard in the rounds, you don't just get that after a couple of days, guys. I'm sorry, but that's not the way it works. Let's see what you got, Bits. Oh shoot, I can't make it any bigger.
Who are you rooting for in the upcoming charity mixed martial arts fight for September 24th? Got Chad Yu, Chili de Castro. Don't know, neither, and not watching. So I'm just going to go ahead and cast my vote right now.
You vote for Chili.
Results. We have a 52%. 97 votes goes to you. We have 22%, 41% going to Sweetie, and not watching as 41 votes there. So, hey, it's overwhelmingly in your favor.
We'll take that. So, and honestly, I'm not saying that he's not a fighter. I'm not saying he's not trained. What I'm saying is he's not a fighter. He's not a fighter in my experience. I mean, what I've been around fighters, and fighters do different things than that. So,
Ed 2276 said he's practicing his sprint so he can run out the cage and get out the door before the fight starts.
Jane, who'd you vote for?
I bet she voted for Chili.
Did you vote for Chili? Hey, do you guys dare me right now while we're live to go on there and vote for Chili so you guys can see it?
You should do that.
Just be like, here I go. Vote for Chili. It's like voting for Pedro. I could be his Napoleon Dynamite. Gosh. Oh, yeah. No, you're right, Frankie. And what's funny is, like, he tries to act like Connor, and Connor's probably got the worst cardio of anybody in that range. I mean, oh, that's crazy.
He's trained as a Power Ranger, man.
Yeah.
Hey, that's right, man. You better watch out. He might morph on your ass.
Mm-hmm.
He's liable to give me a scissor kick to the gizzard.
Yeah, Jane said she just felt bad for him, so she went ahead and voted for him just so he wouldn't feel bad.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll surprise me, but I don't anticipate it.
Maybe
Justin M said that Chili's having his goons vote for you to make it better for his bets.
It probably is. I can't imagine his goons actually being able to do that.
Why is he actually smart enough to bet on Leaducated too? I hope so.
Mm.
Wouldn't that be funny that he votes against himself to lose?
Yeah.
Well, I got to be honest. If I were him, and I'm not, but if I were him, that's exactly what I would do. I would bet on the captain and just take my beating like a man and show everybody that, I may not be the best example of a man, as I've proven all across the country, but I will show up and take my ass beating like one.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he'll even garner a thimble full of respect or so.
If he just shows up, I mean, I will muster.
That'll be impressive all by itself, won't it?
Yeah, absolutely. If he shows up, I'll be happy.
You're miraculous.
So, and maybe, like I said, maybe he'll surprise me, but I don't really anticipate it. I think it's going to be a pretty brutal one-sided event, but just my opinion. I mean, would you expect me to say anything else? Like, seriously, like anytime a fighter's going to talk about his fight, he's not going to be like, "Oh gosh, I hope I don't get my ass whooped." I mean, but I really do feel confident. So.
Unless you're me. But I'm a Debbie Downer.
Oh, you're not going to get your ass beat. That's what we're working for. We're going to fix it. Yeah, the thing that kind of surprised me the most, I guess, of all of it is the fact that somebody who says that they're such a fighter knows that you don't get ready for a fight in a couple weeks. You don't. So especially now, once again, these guys that train all the time, I could see them coming on, taking a fight short notice or whatever. But somebody who knows that they got this coming up doesn't drive around doing live streams all day long and not trying to train for a fight. You don't do it.
No.
That's kind of like going into school for a test. You don't do it unless you are pretty confident you know the answers, do you?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. I don't know. I wish he would show up, but yes, Frankie, most camps are at least 8 weeks, and guys that have been out of it for a little bit are at least 12. So, and I'm a firm believer that that's why I took so long. Which honestly, I probably could have got on the July 9th card, but to be honest, I was afraid of my arm at the time because my arm was still healing and everything, and I was still kind of scared of what my arm would be. So I knew I needed a little bit more time. But yeah, I think 8 to 12 weeks. So I'm excited.
I was telling you to read your Instagram.
I will as soon as we get off here.
I'll tell you one thing, guys. I'm going to know firsthand what it's like to get pummeled by Chad. So he'll probably take it easy on me compared to what he's going to go with Sweetie. But I'm going to know firsthand what it's like to be punched in the head by Chad.
Yeah.
No, Tony W. The fight is not in Ironton. It's actually in the state of Kentucky. So his warrant will be absolutely useless there. It's already been explained to him and everyone else. There's absolutely no way he can be arrested on that warrant showing up to fight. So if he says that, he's just a coward and a liar.
Mm-hmm.
Just making excuses. Yeah, that warrant has no bearing at all on the fight.
And by the way, guys, the charity thing, make sure if you do donate, make sure it's through actual legit means, not through any kind of portal that he's going to put up. So there's ways you can go straight to St. Jude on their actual website and donate through that. So if somebody tries to tell you, hey, go through here, then I'll give them the money. Don't do that. So
I agree completely, especially the three of us here. We don't want any of that money. Please go to the St. Jude's page and donate directly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're right, Blue Hill, I don't think betting should be allowed either. I think it kind of smacked me in the face when I heard that, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I don't know. I'd like to make a couple bucks on you, Captain.
What? Let me get beat up for everybody else to make money?
Hey, man, you've already offered to get beat up, so why shouldn't we come out, on top on it? That's what I'm thinking.
I guess that's true.
So are we going to make Sweetie take the teddy bear?
The teddy bear.
Yeah. We talked about this yesterday.
Oh, yeah, the gummy bear.
Yeah.
You're talking about the devil's dick.
The devil's dick.
Yeah, in case you guys wasn't in on Bit's stream the other night, he decided that he doesn't like me, and he volunteered me to take this. Okay, now this little gummy bear thing right here is like so hot. It's what, 9 million bits?
9 million Scoville units.
Okay, so just to give you an idea, my pepper spray at work is only like 4, I think. 4 or 5.
The hottest sauce at Buffalo Wild Wings is 2.5 million. So the devil's dick is a really good comparison there.
The devil's dick. Yeah, that's hot. That's hot for sure. So as far as the fight through only 3 rounds, yeah, that's pretty common for MMA. MMA is 3 rounds or 5 for title fights. It's a lot more brutal than boxing, so you're definitely not going to fight 12 rounds in that shit. That's for sure.
I can't even make it halfway through one.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And that's what I was telling you, too. I don't think you realize how much cardio is actually involved until you really try it. But we'll keep working on it. You'll get better. You're going to do great. Yes, we have 3-minute rounds. The Kentucky's amateurs is 3-minute rounds. And 3-minute rounds. And then the pros are I think they're 5-minute rounds, I think. Yep, it should be a lot of fun though. I'm really excited for it. I'll be honest, like, I've had other people say, man, it's crazy thing, because everybody's like, oh, I want to fight you after, and I'm like, it's like,
hey, Captain, somebody's asking about the tail of the tape. I don't know if we know Chili's dimensions and sizes or not, but how about you?
I am 6'2", and right now I'm in the 260s because I gained a few pounds back where I was off of my leg. At the time of the fight, I should be I was planning on being under 240, but I still think I'll be in the 240s, even try to make up my ground again. So let's just say we'll call it 6'2", 245 by the time of the fight. Does that sound about right? So.
Do you know what your reach is?
I've never measured. I have no idea.
I mean, I've seen your arms. They look pretty long to me. And Chili is about my size as far as height. So, everything else should be pretty well proportionate. And he is very small. Standing next to you, he's going to be a very small guy. I can't believe he ever agreed to it to start with, even in jest.
Yeah. I mean, he's not going to do – yeah, and that's even what Spencer was saying yesterday. He said, you know what he's going to do. He's going to try to bum rush. He's going to try to rush with the overhand right because he's a little short guy, and he's going to try to get in for a takedown. But that's possible. That might be what he tries to do. But, he's going to eat him on the way in, and then if he gets on the ground, he's just going to lose a different way. I mean,
just stick your foot in the air and let him run into your heel.
Like the wrestlers in WWE?
Just heel kick him right square in the nose.
Like put your hand on his head and just like
yeah, because I guess
swing like a kid.
Yeah,
I guess Chili even made the statement that I was not going to be as strong as him either. So I don't know what he's eating or what he's smoking, but it's got
maybe he's not wearing deodorant that night.
Frankie, we cannot knee in the head. There's no kneeing in the head, and there's no elbowing. There's no elbowing in the head on the ground, I think.
Well, I mean, it could always happen by accident, couldn't it? You could accidentally
but then I lose.
Going down or something.
Yeah, but then I lose.
Well, I don't know if it's an accident, maybe not. I mean, if it's intentional, absolutely, you get disqualified. But if it looks like an accident, remember situational awareness, Captain.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I'm awful. I can't help it.
I think it'll be say Kate's 5'9". Oh my God. I don't know. I don't really know. In my opinion, he's probably 5'7", 5'8". I don't know. I've never really paid attention. He's a little guy.
Yeah. I'm 5'4", and he's only an inch or two taller than I am. He's really not that big of a guy.
It doesn't matter. My reach is going to be so much more than him. My boxing skills are so much better than he's never boxed. He's going to have a rude. I mean, Bits can tell you, like literally me just playing around, just messing with him a little bit of how my angles and my hand speed is and stuff. And
yeah,
it's a lot different than what he's going to be used to.
And that's you taking it easy on me.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not. And like I said, I even told you the day we trained, me getting in here and taking your head off isn't going to prove anything, and it's not teaching you anything. It's a waste of time. If we can't get in there and go slow and just go easy and let you learn something, then what good is it even doing? It's just me being a dick. So if he's 5'8", 200, if he comes in at 5'8", 200, then he's going to be strong. There's no doubt. I don't know if he's really going to weigh that much or not. I don't know.
Hey, Captain, you remember how Mick had Rocky chase the chicken for a lightning fast, a greasy fast speed? You remember that?
Yeah.
Do you reckon Chili uses Charlie for that?
I think Chili's choking a chicken. Is that the same thing? Oh, that's a different name.
He's got a girlfriend now. So.
What?
That some girl he's been talking about. I forgot her name, Lauren or some shit like that.
He's talking about her, but the question is, does she ever talk about him?
I don't know. She seems kind of sketchy.
Has she been on his channel yet?
I think she interviewed him on his channel or on her channel. It was on her channel. She interviewed him, and she gets on Kate's channel and talks shit, but she's like she's female sweetie, basically.
Oh, okay.
Hey, now wait a minute, Professor. I didn't say the disgusting thing. The captain did. I was talking about the movie Rocky, where he made him chase the chicken to get his legs faster so that he could get speed built into his fight. Captain Chad made the bad comment. I did not. I was only asking if he chased the dog.
Who was it said it?
Professor Neuberger.
My thing's not working.
I love his name. Tongue tied.
Oh, I see it now. Yeah, it was my bad. Okay, sorry guys. I was having some fun with it. I'm sorry. No, I don't think Chili's going to be much of a Rocky Balboa montage type training guy. Anyway,
I don't know. He might kind of look like Sylvester Stallone at the end of that fight.
Yeah, somebody else just said that earlier in the chat. Like, at least make him look like he's been in the fight. I promise he'll look like he's been.
He better have a good cut man if he wants his eyes to open again.
Yeah, my cut man is off the chain. My cut man's awesome. So my cut man and my corner, and I think I mentioned this in the video, but Spencer says he's going to try to come in for the fight, and if he does, I'm going to see if I can get him involved in it too, maybe a little bit in the corner or something.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
So I'm super, super excited, guys, and I'm really, really blessed, and I'm having a really good time with this. And ultimately, the reason why I done this live stream in the middle of the day is because I've still got more training to do. So I want everybody to remember that I'm not quitting and I'm not slowing down. I have to recover a little bit from my knee before I go full out on a lot of stuff, but it's going to happen, I promise. So we have been going over 2 hours now. My intention was 1.5. So let's close this out. Mr. Bitts, what's your last word?
I was just going to say, I'll be behind you starting this week. Monday, starting fresh. Get over this stupid thing I'm going through. And yeah, I'm right behind you, dude. So
awesome. Terry, what you got, buddy? Last word?
Well, I'll say hello and goodbye to everybody in the chat as always. So happy y'all came to hang out with us today. Make sure you hit that like button. Go check out Bits and Pieces channel. Bits, it's good seeing you. I hope you get to feeling better, sir. And if you need anything, just hit me up. I'm completely useless, but I'm all right as an extra pair of hands, man. And believe me, I'm a medic. I know how to come in and drag somebody out of the bed if they need it, so it's not a problem. Educator, thanks for having me on. As always, it's great to be with you too.
Well, I appreciate you guys. For my panel, I appreciate you guys, man. You guys are always helping me out, and I greatly appreciate that. And for you guys that are in the chat and ones watching, the ones that will be watching as this video is posted, I want you to know that your support means everything to me. You guys keep me driven. You guys keep me focused, and I'm blessed. And it's because of you guys. You guys have become more of friends to me than anything, you know. And it's funny because I really do like get excited about seeing everybody comment and saying things and stuff. It really makes me feel better. So I'm going to keep driving. I will be fight ready in September. I promise you that. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I bring everything I can. So we're going to put on an absolute good show in September. I promise. So I want everybody to remember to stay positive, stay focused, stay driven, because ultimately your decisions determine your destiny, not anybody else's. It's up to you to do something good, with your life, do something good for somebody else. You know, we have a lot of fun on here being silly and kidding and cutting up, but I want you guys to know ultimately everything you do matters. Everything.
And sometimes even what you don't do matters.
Absolutely. And I mean this 100%. I am going to make sure that we keep working together even after this fight. I'm not going anywhere. We'll just move on to the next good thing we can do for somebody, okay? We'll find more charities. We'll find something else. We'll find some way else for me to hurt myself doing something, okay? So, but I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. We will keep you posted. I will keep going. I will keep driving. I'm going to keep training like I fight, because if we train like we fight, we're going to fight like we train. Have a good day, guys. God bless.
Take it easy.
Later.